Nigerians' rental market is spiraling with two-bedroom apartments now averaging about 2.5 million naira annually. That's far higher than just a few years ago, and tenants nationwide are feeling the squeeze. From flats as low as 250,000 naira in parts of Benin to luxury units hitting 20 million naira in Lagos, rent is surging across the country. The two-bedroom flat, often considered middle ground for families and professionals, is now increasingly out of reach. In Abuja, for example, two-bedroom rents range from 1.5 million on the outskirts to as high as 10 million in districts like Maitama and Asokoro. In Lagos, the spread runs from around 1.5 million in Ikorodu to 20 million naira in Ikoyi and Victoria Island. Other cities are also seeing jumping steeps. In Ibadan, flats that went for 350,000 naira in 2022 now average up to 1.5 million. Ogun's border towns, Enugu, Port Harcourt, and Kano reflect similar trends, with tenants citing sudden hikes and hidden charges. Experts blame the crisis on inflation, high building material costs, currency instability, and Nigeria's estimated 28 million housing deficit. They warn that many households now spend over 40% of their income on rent, far above global standards. Analysts and housing advocates are calling for urgent solutions, from affordable mass housing schemes and rent-to-own policies to tax incentives for landlords who keep rent moderate. Without intervention, the caution, millions more Nigerians could be priced out of decent shelter, deepening poverty and widening inequality. I mean, what are your thoughts on that report? And Mr. Kola, I need to know your thoughts on this particular report, and I wanted to share, a story real quick of a guest I did have on the show. I think it was a few months ago, where they talked about another aspect of this particular problem, given the fact with agency, where you need to sign up with an agency like register, and the agency, you need to pay them for every house they take you out to see, and the long stretch of how much is being paid in commission. What are your thoughts on this report as pertains with housing in Nigeria?
I mean, it's like what's the best word? It's been an ever troubling trend, getting house or renting houses in Nigeria. I'm sure you have also had that experience. I mean, if you move to a new area or you want to change, go from where you stay, you want to probably move and change an environment. The procedures involved, you meet an agent, you have to pay a fee, but the agent will even take you seriously. You get the house, you need to then figure out who to settle, who not to settle, pay these charges or that charges, depending on the area that you have. If it's an estate setting, you pay lots of charges. If it's somewhere in the outskirts or a simple suburb, you probably just pay agent's fee and all of that. And I've always asked the question, why do these things keep getting expensive? Especially given that the cost of living is already high.
Right.
The minimum wage is nothing to write home about. Imagine you're a family and you have maybe 2 children. That means you're literally stuck in living in a self-fund. Because if you're earning minimum wage of 70,000, even in a year, you cannot make up to 2.5 million.
Now
rent, right?
The self-con is the single room. And over here in Port Harcourt, you now hear a self-con or the single room going as far as 500,000 to 800,000 in certain places. I think when I was in the university, it used to be about 80,000 to 120,000. Imagine paying for that same apartment just now for 400, 500, 700 and above. I mean, isn't it worrisome? Do you think that this, when we look at, the holistic picture of things, do you think that we need more regulation as regards how, when we talk about housing and rent payment in Nigeria?
Yes, I was going to get to that. There has to be some sort of regulation. I don't know if there is at the point, but I doubt if there is. I mean, people are just giving prices as per trend. I mean, when someone hears, that's the reason the person is giving out his own house for 2 million, and you were probably giving yours for maybe 1.1, then you'd be like, I need to increase my own, so and all of that. and that is why we find ourselves in this place that we are. Because now you might say, I mean, even if the report is talking about the cost of building and all of that, for us, there are some houses that have been built years back. I'm not saying these owners, these landlords should not make money, but I feel they can still earn money without selling, renting out the houses at such pricey rates. So
Hmm.
there should be some sort of regulation. I think
So,
some
so,
months back,
so, are you trying to say that
government
if
said,
someone had, okay, let's say post inflation, before the inflation got to what it is now, people that have had their houses for a few years shouldn't increase their rent, but people that are building in recent times, given that there's inflation, building material is shooting over the sky. I hear that the rod that people used to buy for 10,000 has now become almost 200,000, and that has made the price of accommodation higher, because what they buy in the market, people go into housing business to try to make some form of a profit. Then when you look at it, are you saying that people that build their house prior shouldn't have the liberty as such to increase the rent to match the current realities of people that are now building?
I'm not going to say either should or shouldn't
Okay.
per se. I mean, it's their property, it's an asset to them.
Right.
Of course, it has to appreciate, it has to appreciate. Well, what I'm saying is it shouldn't be overpriced or so high like this. I know that things are expensive, there's inflation or whatnot, but that's where the that's where there should be some sort of regulation,
All right.
right? Yes, things are expensive, but there are some cases where you ask yourself, it shouldn't be. I've heard someone say his house rent was doubled, you know, like literally doubled. Something you were paying probably 500 for. Your
Hmm.
landlord just woke up next morning and told you, oh, like maybe your house rent is almost expiring. Oh, the next house rent is going to be 1.2 from 500. Then you be like, where do you really start from and all of that?
Hmm.
Then such situations are it's unfair,
Right.
right? Because some of them will even literally, the way Africans behave now. It's their house. If you are not ready to pay, please leave.
And
The fact
oftentimes,
remains that
that there are
someone else
certain
will pay,
people,
obviously.
right? There are certain people that still go on to demand that you pay 2 years worth of rent. Let's say the rent is 2.5.
Exactly.
You're expected to pay
So
for
all these
2 years,
things,
right?
yeah. So there should be regulations on these things. It should be flexible. And aside regulations, the government will need to play their part in making um in infrastructure, right? Making
Right.
available affordable and sustainable houses or
Right.
housing for citizens as
You,
well.
you,
Because
you you
this is
know
what
that at some
happens when
point, they're talking about the government. Sorry to cut you off a little bit there. Talking about the government, did try at some point to propose that rents be paid monthly, especially in places like Lagos. Do you think things like that, options like that, would make life much more easier, given, instead
that is
of
not
paying the accumulated sum?
that is not the solution. That's not that's just escaping the inevitable. Because you're literally saying someone that is paying, let's say, someone that is paying 2 million, you're divided by 12. It doesn't make any difference. Personally, I feel like the annual payment is even better because you pay and you literally have time to now focus on other things in your life. But imagine that you are paying monthly, things can happen. I'm speaking um but as a human now, things can happen. Emergencies can rise the
Right.
next day, and you have to now sort out with some serious money. And next month, you can just end up being homeless. So that's not a solution in any way. Solutions are regulations. Solutions are providing, sustainable and affordable housing, so flexible payment systems for this housing. Because it's one thing to even have them. It's another thing to now say, oh, the housing is available, but it's 2 million, right? So,
Right.
I mean, this monthly payment now, I can say, I feel it's not a solution, but if the government wants to use that for their own system, that if they bring up one maybe tomorrow, I'm sure there are a few systems, mortgaging systems out there and whatnot, but most people do not know that, and at the end of the day, we do not have enough
How,
housing
how
infrastructure that
many
can
people
help
how
this
many people
situation.
earn enough in Nigeria to want to do a mortgage? You forget that the minimum wage is still at 70,000.
Exactly. So
From certain quarters, I hear that there is a certain amount you should earn monthly to even be put in the pool for a
definitely.
mortgage.
Definitely, definitely. If you're not earning up to that amount, you can't even get a good apartment to start with. So that's also That's also another way to look at it. So the government has a part to play entirely in all of this, because I feel like when there is affordable and sustainable, government apartments that are available to citizens, the people would obviously go for that. Of course, I mean, fingers are not equal. There are those that are doing very well that will still settle for private owned rent, houses and
Right.
all of that. But at that point, private owned landlords, house owners would eventually have to bid down their prices,
Right.
because at that point people would know that, oh, I can easily just go to, let's say, Lagos. I can easily just go to Bagada and get an apartment, one of the government apartments, rather than doing this. So by that point there'll be some sort of balance.
Right.
Even at that, there should still be regulations.
Right.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's becoming too serious. I mean,
Right.
2.5 for two bedroom, that's really wild.